Imagine waking up one morning to a world on the brink of catastrophe. News flashes across every screen. Tensions in the Middle East have escalated to the point where a single misstep could ignite a global war. The United States, Iran, and several allied nations are in a high-stakes standoff that has military analysts, diplomats, and everyday citizens holding their breath. Then comes the announcement that shocks everyone. President Donald Trump has declared an immediate halt to any potential military action against Iran. The world exhales, but the question remains, why? It wasn't a sudden decision, nor was it the result of a single event. Behind Trump's declaration lay months of careful observation, secret intelligence, and a complex web of domestic and international considerations. The story begins with the rising tensions that had plagued U.S.-Iran relations for decades. Iran's nuclear program, long a source of concern for Washington, had been progressing despite years of sanctions and diplomatic pressure. Each time the U.S. sought to tighten restrictions, Iran responded with defiance, testing missiles, expanding its influence in neighboring regions, and sometimes directly threatening American interests in the Gulf. For Trump, the stakes were personal as well as political. Since taking office, he had presented himself as a leader willing to take bold actions, often unafraid to challenge traditional diplomatic norms. He had previously expressed skepticism about prolonged military engagements in the Middle East, warning that endless wars drained American resources and cost countless lives. Yet he also faced pressure from advisors who argued that any sign of weakness could embolden Iran to escalate further. It was a delicate balance between demonstrating strength and avoiding a catastrophic conflict. In the weeks leading up to the announcement, a series of incidents had escalated the situation. U.S. intelligence reported that Iran was positioning advanced missile systems near key strategic points. Iranian-backed militias were conducting operations across Iraq, targeting both American forces and allied interests. The media speculated incessantly about potential retaliation, and public opinion in the U.S. was sharply divided. Some Americans demanded a firm stance, while others feared that a war with Iran could mirror the quagmires of Iraq and Afghanistan. Trump convened multiple high-level meetings with his national security team. Advisors laid out every scenario, from precision strikes to full-scale military invasions. Each option carried risks, some potentially catastrophic. The Pentagon emphasized that while the U.S. military could achieve a tactical victory, the geopolitical consequences could destabilize the region for decades. Allies in Europe and the Middle East were uneasy, signaling that unilateral action might fracture crucial international coalitions. Behind closed doors, Trump weighed not just military strategy, but economic and political calculations. The United States had already imposed severe sanctions on Iran, aiming to pressure the government into negotiations. But these sanctions also affected global oil markets, and any military escalation threatened to disrupt supply chains and provoke financial turbulence. For Trump, whose political brand was intertwined with promises of economic prosperity and America First policies, this was a key consideration. Meanwhile, diplomatic channels were quietly humming. Officials from neutral countries and even some Iranian intermediaries were exploring backdoor negotiations. They approached Washington with proposals for de-escalation, urging the U.S. to avoid provocative actions that could spiral into war. Intelligence indicated that Iranian leaders, while rhetorically aggressive, were wary of an actual military confrontation with the U.S., knowing it could devastate their economy and destabilize their regime internally. Then came the critical moment that likely tipped Trump's decision, a combination of real-time intelligence and political pressure. U.S. drones monitoring Iranian movements captured activity, suggesting that Iran was reconsidering any immediate aggressive actions. Analysts interpreted these movements as signs of internal debate within the Iranian government, between hardliners pushing confrontation and pragmatists urging caution.
At the same time, Trump faced mounting pressure from Congress and influential international allies who stressed the importance of exhausting all diplomatic avenues before resorting to war. In public, Trump framed his decision as a demonstration of strength through restraint. "We have the strongest military in the world," he said, "but true strength is measured by the ability to avoid unnecessary conflict. We are standing down because it serves America's interests, not because we are weak." Yet beneath the surface, the decision was also strategic. By pausing military action, Trump gained leverage. It sent a message to Iran that while the U.S. could strike decisively at any moment, it preferred a negotiated solution, thereby increasing pressure on Tehran to return to the negotiating table. This approach, combining the threat of force with the openness to diplomacy, reflected a broader pattern in Trump's foreign policy: unorthodox, unpredictable, and aimed at securing concessions without committing to prolonged engagements. Critics, of course, were quick to voice skepticism. Some argued that Trump's decision was motivated by domestic politics, particularly the looming challenges of re-election. Avoiding a war before an election could be seen as a way to maintain public approval rather than a principled stance. Others feared that Iran might interpret the decision as a weakness, potentially emboldening future aggression. Nevertheless, supporters praised the move as pragmatic and humane, avoiding the human and financial costs of war while maintaining America's global influence. The reaction in Iran was equally complex. State-controlled media projected strength, claiming that Tehran had successfully resisted American aggression. Behind the scenes, however, Iranian leaders recognized the precariousness of their position. Their economy was under severe strain from sanctions, and any conflict with the U.S. could provoke internal unrest. By stepping back, Trump created an opening for negotiations, an opportunity Iran could not ignore. In Washington, analysts debated the long-term implications. Some noted that avoiding war preserved the U.S.'s strategic options for the future, allowing time to strengthen alliances, enhance military readiness, and continue economic pressure on Iran. Others warned that the cycle of threats and delays might create a pattern that encourages brinksmanship, raising the risk of miscalculation in the years to come. Trump's announcement also highlighted a broader theme in modern geopolitics: the interplay between military power and diplomacy. The U.S. could project unprecedented force anywhere in the world, yet the costs, human, financial, and political, remain significant. Demonstrating restraint, therefore, became a strategic tool in itself. By halting military action, Trump reinforced the idea that American power was not only about deploying weapons, but also about making calculated decisions that balance aggression with prudence. Eventually, the decision to avoid war with Iran was not about surrender or weakness. It was about timing, leverage, and risk management. Trump recognized that immediate military action carried consequences that could ripple across the globe, destabilizing allies, inflating energy prices, and potentially sparking a broader conflict. By choosing a pause, he created breathing room for diplomacy, intelligence gathering, and strategic planning. As the days following the announcement unfolded, global markets stabilized, military alerts were reduced, and the media shifted focus to potential diplomatic breakthroughs. While tensions remained, the world had been granted a temporary reprieve, one that could shape U.S.-Iran relations for years to come. In retrospect, historians and analysts would point to several key factors behind Trump's decision: the combination of real-time intelligence indicating Iranian caution, the economic and political costs of war, international pressure, and the strategic calculation that restraint could achieve more than immediate force. It was a decision that reflected both the unpredictability and the pragmatism that characterized his presidency, a recognition that sometimes the most powerful action is choosing not to act. For Americans watching at home, the announcement was a reminder of the delicate balance of global leadership. The world is rarely black and white, and the lines between diplomacy and conflict are often blurred. Trump's declaration did not erase tensions or eliminate the risks posed by Iran. It simply reshaped the landscape, offering an alternative path forward. In the end, the decision underscored a fundamental truth of modern geopolitics. Power is not measured solely by the ability to wage war, but by the wisdom to know when not to. And in that moment, President Trump made a choice that kept the world from tipping into chaos, at least for now.